Here we have the track rock gap boulders where the track rock petroglyphs are carved into. This is a soapstone material, which is a little on the soft side, but durable enough to keep these petroglyphs visible for over 1,000 years. There's several of the boulders here, and named after these rocks, track rocks, because of the animal tracks that are carved in to the rock. Some of them are tracks and some of them are glyphs, symbols. It's pretty interesting. Now here's an area here where somebody back in the turn of the century actually sawed a piece of the petroglyphs out and stole it, which was really nice. Here's another one, unfortunately, where somebody has come and vandalized the petroglyphs and taken a chunk out of the rock. But all in all, they're still in pretty good condition. Let's see if I can get my shadow out of the way here. It's not the best time of day to see, have the sun in the right position to see the petroglyphs very well, but they're all over these rocks. It's pretty interesting to look at. Along this one edge here is a serrated edge, which was probably used to make noise with when you rubbed against it with a stick. I'm walking along the original track rock gap trail that has been in place here for eons, probably 10,000 years. And as you can see, it's been widened. Imagine this was just a foot trail at one time, but even the early settlers and pioneers began to use this way through the North Georgia mountains, so it was widened for larger vehicles other than human legs and feet. And at one time was widened enough to bring in logging machines and trucks and such. So it's an ancient way. The original way down to through the woods there is the modern highway. A crossover on that side is some other interesting features that I'll explore later, some ancient mining areas. But right now we're heading up the trail directly toward the Track Rock Gap village, and we'll see what we can see. I'm down below the main trail. I decided to check this part of the area out because I hadn't been down in here yet. And as I followed down the hill here, almost down to the bottom, actually where I could see some houses through the wood, the walls and terraces just continue to go down, 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 all the way down through into that pine forest down there, and then back on up. Now I'm getting into some pretty interesting areas here. This is another old trail area, and right above it here is some really nice walls again. Series 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up this hill. Over here is a really great cairn. Probably one of the nicer examples in the area, and of course there's some other rock piles around it, but this one's quite nice. I'm not sure if this is all original, but looks like maybe some stacking or balancing by somebody, but clearly this is not a burial mound, and just stacked really nicely right on top of this huge flat boulder. And then we've got these terrace walls going up right over here. So I'm continuing uphill again. I've gone down to pretty much where the bottom of it is that I can tell, and now I'm going to head back up. This is another area just a few yards up from where I just was counting the other mounds. This is a larger area mound. It may have been unburied. It looks as if it was actually made in a circular fashion. Now here's a boulder with just stones stacked on top of it. And then up here we have more terraces. 1, 2, 3, 4. As far as I can see up into the forest. There's another one right here, all along here, and down along here, which is a really interesting feature, is one of the ancient acequias, or water canals. This is what's left of it here, this long wall. It's running parallel to the natural stream bed, but this was a way that they could bring the water into the other areas that they wanted to irrigate in the village. And this wall here is easily 50 yards to 100 yards long that I can see, that's uncovered. Now keep in mind that a lot of this is still buried. It's over 1,000 years old and has not been uncovered. This is also where the stream comes out from the rocks. It may have been different back 1,000 years ago, but it does disappear up into the hillside up there a bit. But this is a pretty amazing edge. This could have also delineated the edge of the village somewhat, but pretty cool features. This is one of the larger walls. This is also located along the village edge. It's a massive wall. It runs, probably about 40 yards along here. It's part of this complex of terraces and cairns and mounds. And oddly, in the middle of this one, let me step over the wall here on the other side. You can see that there were some natural boulders here. I suppose they were natural. I can't imagine they were moved. That have also been incorporated into this particular wall. This is a massive stone wall here. A lot of it's still pretty intact, with some really large boulders incorporated into the base of it, and it runs perpendicular to the stream. Now what the significance of this is, who knows why they decided to build the wall right here and interrupt it in this area with these boulders which they've stacked on top of. I can't think of anything more than just the aesthetics of the structure itself. It doesn't lend itself to any practical reasoning. So these things were clearly made as aesthetic as well as purposeful retaining walls. I'm standing here alongside of the edge of the village here, right up from the stream that I've been following up. Now I've come to some of the areas where the terraces and mounds are being constructed. Behind me here is something I wanted to point out. It's quite a large boulder here on top of a larger boulder. Now this boulder was obviously, all these boulders here were obviously brought in. They must weigh at least 300 pounds apiece. This is something that a single man could not have even lifted one end of. I certainly am not going to try. But this boulder, this tall one here, may have been set up on its edge at one time and has fallen over. But clearly some of these stacks of rocks are not built on the ground where they would lend themselves to be burial sites. These are done for aesthetic purposes only, and they may have been stacked up in a certain manner at one time. Now they've collapsed down, but you'll see a lot of these areas in here where they must have really struggled to get these large stones in place. Here's another one, and this again is on top of a natural boulder that must have already been in place. But this is the start of one of the terraces along here, and then there's another one right behind it, another one, all the way up through the woods here. And scattered amongst them are these rock mounds. Now this particular one looks as if somebody may have dug into it. I'm not sure though. It's a circular pattern, and some of the rocks look like they've just been placed in this manner. But again, some are tossed over to the side. Somebody may have tried to go in and see if there's anything inside of this, or it could have been made that way. Now here's another example of what I'm just going to call a cairn, for lack of any other description. A very large boulder with smaller boulders stacked on top. And they do get smaller as they stack, but the bottom boulders are very large. So I'm in a pretty tight area right in here. There's another stone mound over here. Now a lot of these mounds curiously have trees growing up the middle of them. I doubt that was intentional. These are 1,000 years old. Obviously a nut fell down in there and found a good place to sprout up, possibly even brought in by some sort of an animal. But you'll see that unfortunately a lot of these are obliterated just by nature and not necessarily man. Now this one's quite large. It's one of the largest ones I've seen. That's maybe why it was attracted to someone to try to dig down into. And again, some of these boulders at the bottom are a couple of 100 pounds easy. Now as they go up, they're smaller, but they were chosen wisely and intentionally. They were not just grabbed and thrown on there. They go from large to small on purpose to give a sense of monument to the piece. I've walked further up the mountainside. I'm actually getting sort of close to the I think the cliff face. You can see here in front of me two really excellent examples of some large stone mounds, undisturbed, still intact over 1,000 years. There's actually more going up the hill behind it. There's one over here. There's dozens of them dotted into this area. And here it is a perfect ceremonial mound right in front of me, and another large flat plaza right here on the mountainside, about the size of a football field, and all around it stone structures. We'll walk across the plaza here toward the temple mound. There's a rock mound there, and here we have another wall that's running parallel to the ceremonial mound. Most likely another acequia, or possibly marking a roadway or path. This is another really large area, and we've gone way up the mountainside. This is the third plaza that I have come upon at this point. I keep thinking they're going to end, and then I just run into more walls and more interesting structures. This mound is definitely larger than a house. Easily 50 yards long, 50 to 100 yards long, and it looks to be about, at this point, 50, 60 feet high from the base. And then here is the plaza looking south, which makes perfect sense, toward the south part of the Georgia mountains and the Gap. This is the first stone that I found that shows any evidence of human sculpturing or carving. It's about, it's not gigantic, but you can see here that this side is sculpted in, and over here on this side we have essentially the same shape, the concave shape on both sides of this stone. Not quite sure what it might have been used for. Certainly unusual. Might have been used for a metate grinding device, or who knows. Just leave it up to your imagination. It's pretty interesting relic here, and it is located pretty much right here at the plaza area along one of the walls. I've just come over on the other side of this ceremonial mound, and on the other side of that was where I just was, where the plaza was. Now this is another plaza looking area, and the acequia that runs from the springs further up in the hills there runs along here and runs along between basically on top of this, between these mounds, or on top of the mounds, and down to the area down there where the flowers were. Now this area is very odd. It's again really flat, and there's virtually nothing growing right in here. This is thick, deep forest. Anything that would have a chance to grow would grow in here if it could. It's also surrounded by some rather large piles of rock, almost a circular shape right in here. But you can see I'm standing here in the middle of a huge forest, and there's just nothing growing here. There's just a big gap right here where sun's coming down, and out of the hundreds of years of time for anything to have a chance to grow, nothing is here. So that's really odd. You can see here some more walls, mounds. There's a wall up further up in the woods. Some structures over here, but it's almost like a bowl-shaped area. And the soil looks fine here. It's good dark soil. It's not rocky at all. It looks like you know, where you could possibly even plant a garden. Very odd. And of course, all around, just beyond this circular area, is forest, thick forest. I've gone up quite a bit higher. I started to follow up an acequia, and from that other bare spot, I'm at yet another plaza area. You can see here a low wall running along here. It basically runs up into this ravine. I imagine it was used for water diversion. It doesn't really, it's basically perpendicular to the other walls. Now this is a big round plaza area again, with a large ceremonial hill here. Here's the water source running right down through the middle. It's a flat spot. You can see over here some very large stone mounds. Up here above it, there's another series of walls going up the hill here. So another really interesting spot with a lot going on. And I think I've only seen about half of what there is up here so far. Okay, I was walking up the hill, straight uphill from where I just was at the edge of the stream bed. I've come upon another ancient trail here, and it leads up to the water source here. More than likely this was not just a trail, but an acequia. It leads downhill toward the village directly from this spring here that I was walking along. And remarkably, let me come up here through the woods. I'm getting very close to the cliff face. There's some gigantic boulders up in the woods above me. But right here where the trail leads is a beautiful little flat area that has clearly been walled off into what used to be an ancient pond, or quite possibly swimming hole or fish pond, and or a place to pull up the water to hold it and to send it back down the acequia here you see wandering through the woods to the village. This is amazing here. This is, you can see some of what's left of the wall along the edge here. Remarkable area. And this is also right here where these gigantic boulders start and where the spring comes out of the mountainside. So it's the source of the spring, the freshest part of the water, and they were delivering this directly down into the village. Unbelievable. I'll try to back up here so you can see the whole pond area. And then that's the spring head right there, and then there's the big boulders coming out. I'm gonna climb up into these boulders, look for some more petroglyphs, see what I can find. Now I'm walking straight up. I'm basically at the base of these giant rock cliffs, and when I didn't think these walls could go any further, they do. Here's another one, and another one down below here, and a really long one that runs all the way across into the woods. And these are big boulders. This boulder here is 3 feet long, probably weighs 400 pounds. And all the ones in this particular wall are quite large. So I'm going to go a little further up, and then I'm going to start heading over along the way here to try to get to the other end of this complex before I run out of time. But it's amazing. There's just no words to describe the size and vastness and complexity of this whole thing and how it relates to these hills and valleys and along the landscape here. And all of this forest had to have been cleared at one time by hand, and they had no metal tools to use whatsoever. This was all cleared and all terraced and engineered at one time. This should just give you an idea of some of the brambles that are in here now. These trees are 60, 70 feet tall and covered with gigantic vines. And that's just what's here now. This is new growth. When they were here, it was all old growth, gigantic trees. One thing that's certainly worth noting, I just realized right here where the daffodil garden is and this large wall system, there's also a very large collection of ferns in this area. Now, they grow natural out here in these woods, but nowhere else is there a concentration of these ferns like this. So obviously these were brought in and planted along with the daffodils, and we can see here a large mound or wall, another part of the wall. We've got a wall here. I'm standing right on top of a terrace. This is a wall, and then the terrace is down to two more walls that I can see here. And all in this particular area, just below the daffodils, are these wonderful ferns. Well, it's been an incredibly interesting day, to say the least. I have been zigzagging all through these woods, up and down and back and forth, and I've seen some of the most amazing stuff. It was beyond my imagination. But it looks like the weather's closing in on me a little bit, and I'm getting sort of beat, so I'm heading back down the trail here. I think I've pretty much covered all the ground. I'm sure there's some parts I missed up in the corners here and there, but I'll have to save those for another day. But it's been just an incredible experience to come up here and see this amazing village that is over 1,000 years old, completely untouched from the time that it was abandoned. It's very rare to find that these days. And I hope that the people that come to this area are mindful of how rare and precious it is, and decide to leave it alone. Don't be messing with it, trying to pull apart the stone mounds or anything destructive like that. Just come and enjoy it like I did. Use your imagination and have a fantastic time. So good luck, and see ya at the next interesting place.